Hey everyone, Z Slayer Dre here, and today I'm going to be talking why I'm a bit worried about the PlayStation 5. So I've been experimenting with doing both scripted and unscripted videos, and today I just kind of made a couple bullet points about my feelings, and I'm kind of just going to kind of improv it a little bit. So the first thing I want to make really clear is that first party games, they're going to be just fine. First party developers will be able to take all the new technology in the PlayStation 5 and take complete advantage of it. They're going to be able to do incredible things with the SSD. If it's even remotely as good as Sony is saying the proprietary SSD is, they're going to be able to do some just incredible things. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they'll be creative with it. So on that front, they're going to be fine, and probably second party developers to a certain degree. Obviously they won't be as familiar with the technology, depending on which developer it is, but at the same time they will be able to, just because the games are solely just going to be on the PlayStation, so they'll be able to take full advantage. The problem with everything else is that for third party developers, they have to basically make every version of the game relatively similar across all platforms, or at least they do now. They used to, back in the day, it used to be pretty different. I don't see them going back to that style because obviously it require a lot of more work, and as we've seen lately, third-party developers are going to do the least amount of work possible to get their product shipped out. So they're not going to go in and make a Sony exclusive version that takes full advantage of all the features. They're going to the SSD in the Xbox Series X is really fast too, so they'll still be able to do some pretty new and inventive things with the hard drive, or as far as like data streaming the hard drive goes. So that won't be too much of an issue, but they won't be able to do the same thing that first party developers will be able to do. That will be one problem, and I'll talk more about why that's going to be an issue later on. But the other, and actually maybe probably the biggest issue, is the SSD is really small. Like, I said in my last video that 2 terabytes would kind of be the bare minimum they'd have to do, and they didn't even do 1 terabyte. It's 825 gigabytes. That is, and usually you don't, I mean, it will say 825. I mean, it's proprietary, so it might actually be a full 825, but more likely it will be in like the 780, 770 gigabyte range. It is very unlikely to actually get a full 825, but we'll see. It's proprietary. Like the Xbox One, Series X one, it says it's 1 terabyte. You might only get 900 gigabytes. That's just the way it is. So, and that's a problem too. I mean, you may be able to squeeze in one more game there, but so the problem with that is that a lot of people have very big PlayStation libraries now, and so Mark Cerny said it in his press conference that, I mean, people are going to have to buy additional storage to play their older games. Now, not everyone's going to want to go back and play their stuff, but a lot of people are. I mean, people have huge backlogs now. Stuff goes on sale, especially if a game is even a year old now. You can get for 20 or sometimes less. There's some really good games you can get for even less than 10 now. So people have huge libraries. I mean, I have that same problem too. And then you have the quote-unquote free games from PlayStation Plus. You get 2 of those a month, assuming you don't already own that one, which is something I'm going to talk about later also. But people get really big libraries now, so they're going to need storage, and you're not going to want to just have 5 games installed. So you're going to have to spend, for whatever price the PlayStation 5 ends up being, you're probably going to have to spend at least another $100, if not more, depending on how much storage you want to get. I mean, maybe you could go a little bit less. You just got a terabyte hard drive, but still, that wouldn't help that much. I would say most people are probably going to want to get a 2 terabyte just hard drive to put in there so they can play their older, like, PlayStation 4 games. Because obviously, as I said, it's not going to be able to take, the older games won't take complete advantage of the SSD, so you don't want to waste the space of it. And like I said in my last video, we have some games that are over 100 gigabytes already. And they're just going to get bigger and bigger because everything's going to have 4K textures now. Because a lot of the games, even ones that do just play in 4K, They don't seem to have the 4K texture packs, at least games I noticed that I have on both PC and PlayStation. The PC versions will usually have like a better texture pack. And so the file sizes usually tend to be bigger sometimes on PC. So the file sizes are going to get bigger on PlayStation because everything is presumably going to be 4K, unless the developer, and I really hope they do. I really want to see, because the PlayStation, and this is going to be another point, the PlayStation is going to be strong enough to do 4K 60 in all games. So, and I'm sure the first party games will be able to bang it out, but the third party ones, you're probably going to look at 4K 30, maybe some 4K 60, but again, I mean, every developer could make every game 4K 60. That's not a problem. The problem is them actually putting in the work to do that. But when you have more headroom and horsepower, like the Xbox Series X has, then you're more likely to get the 4K 60. And also, it's something that Microsoft is kind of making, or they keep saying that they want all games to be 4K 60. Sony has not said that. So, I mean, I don't know if Microsoft has a mandate out for third-party developers to make everything 4K 60, but Sony definitely doesn't have that, so they have no reason to do it. So and they won't do it unless they have to. So they're gonna make the games look as pretty as they can, but the problem is that the more graphic fidelity that you put into something, the lower the frame rate, and game companies really optimize. And again, this is for third-party stuff. First-party stuff is going to be different. First-party stuff will be fine, but you're probably not going to see a lot of 4K 60. So I'm hoping that they'll have a performance mode in all games to choose, like say you do 1440p 60 or 4K 30, and everyone just has the option, or maybe like a 1440p unlocked frame rate if someone has a monitor they can use, or TV that's higher than 60 hertz. We'll see. They could do that on the PS4 Pro, and they don't seem to do that often, but although I do love when they actually do that. Hell, I'd even take a 60, I'll take 1080p 60 FPS over 4K 30. The 30 FPS, especially with action games, is just terrible. If you play a game on PC and PS4, compare them, and in your PC you get 60 plus hertz, and compared to like the PS4 30 FPS, it is night and day difference. So that's something I'm worried about. I don't think it has enough horsepower to do 4K 60 on everything, and unless they mandate the third-party developers do that, it's probably not going to happen. So we'll see. I'm hopefully optimistic, but I doubt it's going to happen. And I know that's kind of a contradicting statement there, but it is what it is. So the next point is the sound quality improvements. Now, a lot of things people rarely talk about is the sound quality improvements, especially if you go back and play, like I've been playing PlayStation 3 a lot lately. If you go back and listen to PlayStation 3 games, PlayStation 2 games, and something people never talk about, the sound quality difference is incredibly different compared to the PlayStation 4, the older stuff. It sounds so much better and so much clearer now. It really does make a difference. And you really notice it when you go back and play the older stuff. So I think we're at the point where stuff sounds really good as it is. I mean, I hope it's as good as they say it is. I don't think it's something that most people are going to care about. It's something I personally do like, but I would have, again, rather than I would take the extra graphical horsepower over this 3D audio tech. And again, third-party developers probably aren't going to take advantage of it because it has to sound. They're going to keep every version consistent, so they're not going to go the extra mile to make the audio extra better on the PlayStation 5. Some, like CD Projekt Red, will probably do that. They're the one developer that will, go the extra mile, but everyone else, they're not going to do that. And I know it does seem from what they said from the press conference, they made it really easy to do. So, if it's really, really easy, they might do it, but again, we have AAA publishers continually releasing completely broken games. I don't see them going the extra mile to take advantage of this technology unless they have to. I just don't. It sucks. I wish they would, but they're probably not going to. And that kind of brings us to another problem, is that Sony said they're going to be... So, kind of a problem. They said they're going to be making less games, but at a higher quality. Which is good, because I would much rather take quality over quantity. I rather them really, focus on optimizing games, making them the best they can be, and releasing less games than releasing a bunch of mediocre stuff. So I'll take that. But that's the problem, is that if there's less first-party games, that means there's really not going to be many games that take advantage of this tech. Which, unless they're going to buy more development studios and they can release more games, each development studio will release less overall, but if they get more studios, then they can, have enough games. So that's like, I don't understand. And so the reason you would really be buying a PlayStation 5 is for the exclusives, that, and Nintendo understands that. They release a ton of stuff, or at least sometimes they do anyways. If they don't have that many games coming out taking advantage of this tech, it's like, why not just make the system more powerful so you can enjoy third-party games better on it? This is kind of, they are definitely repeating some of the mistakes of the PlayStation 3. It's not as bad as PlayStation 3. It does really seem like they're making things easy for developers to develop stuff on it, which is really good. They seem to focus way more on the developers, though, than the customers, and you have to focus on both. We'll see what happens. I mean, everything could be fine, doesn't really look that good. We'll see. Another issue is the built-in microphone. First of all, I hate the design of the controller. It looks so disgusting. I know everyone's opinionated. I personally don't like it. If you like it, that's fine. I don't like the look of it. For me, I have big hands. The PlayStation 4 controller is the one that somewhat fits into my hands comfortably, and the fact that they're changing that, from me, I don't like it because it's not going to be as comfortable. But again, I don't know until I feel it, so if it looks ugly, whatever. I would rather it function well. There are some good things about it. The D-pad looks way better. I mean, on the DualShock 4, it's just one button. These actually look like 4 separate buttons on the D-pad, so that's great, because how many times, I can't remember, where I'd press down on the D-pad and it would hit up instead and do something I didn't want it to do. The face buttons look pretty much the same, which is good, because I think the face buttons are the best part of the PlayStation controller. They're way better than, I hate the Xbox ones. They're much more responsive on the PlayStation 4 controller, so hopefully they're good. And I do prefer the PlayStation triggers, hopefully those stay the same. The haptic feedback, it sounds great on paper. We'll see how people implement it. Again, it's going to depend on the differences between the controllers. I think the Xbox One Series X controllers also will have it, so most games should have it, but we'll see how that's implemented. I'm sure it will be better on the Sony exclusive games, but then we have stuff like with the touchpad that they tried to put into the Sony exclusives earlier in the PlayStation 4 life cycle, and everyone hated it, and then ended up not being used at all, so we'll see. And then I'm kind of worried about, they're going to have to make it really high quality. I tend to break things. I can totally see myself pushing on the stick too hard and breaking it, or breaking one of the whatever motor they use for that haptic feedback. I hope they make them really durable, because if they're not, these controllers are not going to be cheap. They're probably going to be $70 or $80 easily. And then that brings me to the microphone in it. That I do not like. I don't like that at all. I know people have brought up concerns of being spied on. That's definitely an issue. Basically, as we found out, every system that has a microphone in it has recorded people or spied on them without their knowledge at some point. So I really hope Sony doesn't do that. It would be really disgusting if they did, but we'll see. And then you're gonna have people with their crying kids in the background in every online game you play. I'm playing mostly single player games, so I don't have to worry too much, but we all know what that one person has someone screaming in the background or some background music, and everyone's gonna have the mic in their controller now, so we'll see. It is nice to have it accessible for everybody. That's good. There are a lot of caveats that will come with that. Some things are out of Sony's control, but I personally wish they did not put it in the controller and they were just a separate, they put the headpiece with I think it was a 360 controllers. Something like that would have been perfectly fine. I don't know why they had to put it in everything's about streaming and social media and stuff, so they just want to make it as easy to stream as possible now, which is good. I actually really like the PS4 Pro recording stuff. It's actually been really good for me. Another problem is all the games might not be backwards compatible. They said they're testing them. So, there's going to be the few... there's a lot of games. Obviously, you're not going to go back and play every game. Some games probably won't be compatible, and I don't like that. I didn't realize that when they originally announced it, it seemed like every game was going to work, and now they're like, they have to go and test everything, which makes sense. They want to make sure everything works, but there's also the potential that stuff might not work. I don't like that. I hope they make almost everything work, because it's really annoying me if I have to keep my PlayStation 4 around to play certain games that they decided they couldn't make work with the PlayStation 5. And also, there's no PlayStation 1, 2, or 3 support. The PlayStation 1 and 2 would have been great, but the PlayStation 3 is really what I wanted. There's a lot of games I missed out personally, and the PlayStation 3 had a lot of really, on their storefront, they had a lot of really good old classic games on there too. If they made it backwards compatible with just the 3, that would open up so many games that you could port over to the PlayStation 5. A lot of really good classic games, so I understand why they didn't do it, but it really sucks that they didn't. That was something for me. I would have bought it probably day one if it did have the backwards compatibility with PS3. The fact that it doesn't, I'm probably going to hold off. And another thing too is that PlayStation 5 Plus is continually a disappointment. You shouldn't have to pay for online, and they are still having the problem where they're giving out games that everyone has, or everyone who, they gave out Uncharted 4 last month, which is the best-selling game on PlayStation 4, or at least exclusive. I think GTA 5 might have sold it, maybe, but I think they sold over 17 million copies of Uncharted 4. Basically, everyone who ever wanted to play it has already bought it. I bought it for really cheap too, so it's really obnoxious having one of the monthly games. I've had at least one, if not two, of the monthly games every month for the past 10 months or something. It's been ridiculous. They need to completely change their program. They need to give you a choice of maybe 4 games, you pick 2, something like that. Even if I got a smaller indie game, I don't care, at least it was something I don't already have. It's really, or refund people money for that month if they already have a game. It's ridiculous. The money you pay for the game is supposed to go towards the server cost for a particular game, unless it's an MMO. So we shouldn't have to pay to get the online. Again, as I said in my last video, you're competing with PC, which is becoming a lot more popular now. And it's a big strike against PlayStation. I don't think it's going to sell as well as so. I'm not all doom and gloom. This thing's going to sell like crazy. I don't think it's going to sell as well as the PS4. I'm going to guess in the 90 to 95 range. I think the Xbox Series X will probably go in the 60 to 70 range for lifetime. PC gaming is definitely becoming more and more popular, so I think more people are going to go for PCs, and obviously Nintendo, I don't see them doing as well on their next gen unless they do a really good Switch 2. But a lot of people are going to be sticking with Nintendo, I think, too, and that's really expensive. So they're probably, people buying Nintendo stuff probably aren't going to have money for other consoles unless they're very well off. So, like I said, not all doom and gloom, but this is not looking like a great product. They said they were going to focus on hardcore gamers. That was a complete and utter lie from what we've seen. Unless there's some secret feature. They said before the Mark Cerny press conference that they had some surprise features that were unannounced, and it doesn't seem like there's anything in that last press conference that seemed like a really good surprise feature, so or that we didn't already know about. So unless they have something up their sleeve that they haven't talked about yet, which I don't know why they haven't, this doesn't look like it's probably going to be one of the worst PlayStation consoles. But it will still be good. Well, like I said, we'll still get really good I think the real first party games will be really good. But the third party stuff is going to be experienced better on the Xbox stuff or on PC. But that's why you buy the console for the exclusives. But it really sucks because now I'm going to have to buy a PlayStation 5 for the exclusives, and then I'm going to have to continue to upgrade my PC for third-party stuff, which sucks. It would be so nice just to have one thing to play everything, or just have and then if you want to play Nintendo stuff, you gotta get the Switch 2 or whatever they'll come out with next. So, and that probably won't be backwards compatible. That's a completely different story. yeah, we'll see what happens. Like it's not going to be as good, but it'll be okay, I suppose. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I'll be doing more stuff like this. I am working on I just platinumed Dragon Quest Heroes. It took forever, and I am working on a review for that now. So stay tuned to see that. I'll see you in the next video.